I'm gonna turn it over to my fellas. Ian, Joey, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thanks for having us.
Warm welcome. What a warm.
Yeah.
My fellas, dude, my fellas.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna kind of go over some of the updates, with the critical repairs special assessments. We can also discuss towards the end like the common insurance issues you guys are seeing specifically in California, but I can let you know we're seeing them nationwide as well. We're gonna go over some stuff on how to empower, you know, buyers and sellers and what makes our condo department different. So we're gonna just go ahead and kick it off here. You guys see my screen? We're at the being proactive for the buyer's agents. Perfect. Joe, you kind of want to talk to them a little bit about pre-submit, man?
So what we've come up with here at Movement is the concept of pre-flighting condos. So if you have somebody that's shopping, this project, this project, this project, we like all of these projects. They're all in our price point. They all have the right availability and the right features and functions that we want. But we don't know what kind of financing opportunities are available at these projects. So instead of going under contract, putting in the offer, and then setting, these contingency dates, let's get me to order the docs for you and pre-flight know before you show what this project is going to be eligible for. Whether it's, the high LTV, Fannie Freddie, normal cookie cutter stuff, some of the more complicated FHA, VA stuff, or the extra complicated expanded access stuff. But like we can figure all that out up front before you go under contract, and we'll even pay for the questionnaire for you up front.
You guys, I don't know of a single other bank that does that. I've
So
never heard of that. Like, and I have friends, a ton of different banks out there in the industry, and no one's going to sit there and invest money in ordering condo docs, invest your time in reviewing those docs and taking a look at this. And hey, not only are we doing that, but we're taking it steps way above and beyond. I mean, that you guys, I honestly like that has made our life so much easier by being able to reach out to you guys and literally just fill out a form and putting all the information in on that particular condo. If we have a listing agent that's got a listing coming up in a condo complex, why not find out what kind of financing they can do? Why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you just pick up the phone and call us and be like, hey, Eddie, Matt, here's, this place down on 123 Main Street that I'm looking at that unit A that we're gonna be listing in a couple of weeks. Can you please get it approved in advance? And then right off the bat, everyone's gonna know. Everyone's gonna know exactly what kind of financing they can do. That's huge, you guys. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
After my nightmare that I had, I wish that I had that back then. But
That
that's
was,
really amazing.
yeah, I mean, it's so helpful, right? Like to everybody that's involved in the transaction. So just want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
that's
So
how
then
you
on
can
top,
be proactive is,
yeah,
go ahead, Ian. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know, I was just gonna say, so on top of condo pre-submit, we also have being proactive from the listing agent side, right? What we talked about was the buyer's agent side. You reach out, you have a client looking for a condominium. Ed takes their application. We front the review for the condo project before they put in an offer on a unit in that project. From the listing agent side, it's a little different.
Mhm.
But the good news is you can empower your seller. And what I mean by that is the seller is a current owner and they already have rights to a handful of the documentation that we need as a lender to review, specifically being the budget and the current master insurance policy and any sort of inspection that was done within the past 3 years. They'll have immediate instant access to that. You get Ed those three docs, we'll be able to give you a good idea on eligibility in the project before you even list. For example, we're seeing a lot of insurance issues. Maybe there's an issue with the insurance. So we let you know before you even list whether or not it can go conventional FHA, VA, or if we have a non-warrantable avenue for it. or the budget is short, the reserve contribution requirement. So you guys know right out the gate, you shouldn't take any bond loans for your seller. You shouldn't do any minimum down financing at 3 to 5%, or shouldn't accept any offers at 3 to 5% down. It would be 10% down if we see a budget issue, or 25% down if we see a budget issue in its second home or investment transaction. So empowering your seller can allow you to know a lot about their property before you even list it. And you get that documentation to Ed, and we will review it for him, Johnny, on the spot, and let him know if we see any issues. Sometimes your seller can even take it one step further and ask the management company for the most recent questionnaire they've completed for another lender, and you get us that most recent questionnaire and the budget and the insurance. We'll be able to do a complete review of the project and determine eligibility completely, so long as nothing else is needed on that from reviewing that documentation. So that's two aspects of it, guys. Empowering your seller from the listing agent side, and condo pre-submit from the buyer's agent side.
And I know Matt has had a couple of wins recently, where he was actually able to get some properties VA approved in advance, which was pretty awesome. Matt, you want to tell him about that?
Yeah, we're actually going for another win right now. I've actually submitted with our condo team another complex for VA approval on Van Dyke in San Diego. So this will be the third one in probably about 5 months. So if you have a veteran that's looking for financing in a complex that's not already VA approved, give your boys a holler and we'll get the whole complex approved so that all the veterans have an opportunity to buy in that particular complex.
And think about how much that helps your sellers too. You're opening up your pool of potential buyers, right? So, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do that and reach out.
Also, caveat on that, the VA says 6 to 8 weeks on these things, and we've got it done in less than 4. Not saying that's a guarantee, but we've got it done in less than 4 every time. And we're going to do it again in less than 4 on this one. So if that's advantageous for buyers or sellers that you guys know, holler.
All right.
Yeah, the deferred maintenance and critical repairs and even insurance related issues have been spread beyond Fannie and Freddie. So FHA and VA are going to be our probable outlet if the HOA does indeed have critical repairs issues, or minor critical repairs issue, undocumented critical repairs issues, and several insurance items that the FHA and VA just haven't adopted for the smart reasons.
Right. And then now that's kind of a good lead into conventional and jumbo financing. Joey, let's just hit them with the documentation requirements and some of the new aspects that those critical repairs have thrown in there.
All of our conventional reviews include a questionnaire, a budget, insurance, and if an inspection has taken place within the past 36 months, that inspection. Now, when we say inspection, we're talking about the balcony inspection that happens in you guys' next to the woods, every 8 to 10 years. That counts. The fire inspection, safety, all of your, fire extinguishers have tags on them. All of your fire doors aren't blocked. That inspection, that counts. What we're not talking about is your basic run-of-the-mill reserve study. Now, reserve studies are a very adequate data point when we're talking about proving a project doesn't have critical repairs, but it's not a very reliable source of data to prove a project does need critical repairs. So we don't really look at reserve studies the way that we look at a fire inspection or the balcony inspection. But every other
326 or something.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, but the questionnaire, the budget, and the insurance are the run-of-the-mill normal, hey, this is what the Fannie Mae guidelines say. This is what the Freddie Mac guidelines say. And we don't have any overlays. So if your borrower wants to use a Freddie Mac program or wants to use a Fannie Mae program, we're going to review those documents according to whatever program they want to use.
And let me translate into English, right, for half a second there.
Sorry. Yeah. I get nerdy. I get nerdy when it
I
comes
know
to.
you get it. So look at we have jumbo loans, right,
Yeah.
that go above
No.
$1,006,000
Yeah.
in San
Keep,
Diego
keep going.
that use Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. They don't
Mhm.
have their own jumbo guidelines. They do. And when we say overlays, those are just additional guidelines that banks put on for particular anything.
Risk
I mean,
assessment.
especially for condominiums, a lot of banks have their own overlays. I mean, one of the big myths out there is like you have to have 51% occupancy, right? To do a condo. Not true. But a lot of big banks do have this ridiculous overlay, right? On their books. And it's just their rules. That's it. And so we try to avoid those rules at all costs. We do not try to put any additional overlays. If Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac will take that loan, we're using their guidelines for 99% of it. So again, we have jumbo programs that use those guidelines, which is really unique because most jumbo products, they have a whole separate, much more conservative viewpoint on condos, on properties, on down payments, you name it, on credit scores, everything. So it's really beneficial to have that option. And so take it away, Joey. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
You're right. Right. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. Yeah. So with the we don't need a questionnaire. However, the questionnaire is a very useful tool that puts all of the review data points in one document. Okay. We can do a project review without a questionnaire. It just takes a very, very long time to do. Okay. You're talking about a 15-minute review versus a 15-day review. All right. So
And it's
when I say we need, yeah.
probably going to take more documentation than it would be just to get a
Yeah.
questionnaire completed.
And instead of, getting just a questionnaire, getting just a budget and getting just the insurance, we're talking about, we have to document, rep, and warrant all of the data points on that questionnaire. So you're talking about 30, 40 more documents from, local jurisdictional county records, title work,
Legal
past,
docs,
the legal
appraisal.
docs,
We don't need any of that.
past
We don't need
deed.
any
Yeah,
of that.
I'm
We're
just
just
saying.
going to get a questionnaire filled out.
So questionnaire, budget, and insurance is the most direct and path of least resistance, which is why we always request that during our reviews. And there are scenarios where we don't need a review questionnaire, and that's when project review is waived. But the new rules for when project review is waived from Fannie and Freddie now include the critical repairs and the structural and mechanical inspections. So even when we're doing a limited cash out refi that Fannie Mae already owns, we still have to rep and warrant that they're not in need of critical repairs. So even on a waived review, we're still reviewing that structural and mechanical inspection, and it all stems from that tragic happenstance in South Florida a couple of years ago when the Champlain Towers collapsed. It rocked the world. So
kind of going into these this new guideline for critical repairs, guys. So critical repair is as defined by Fannie or Freddie. It sounds vague, but when you look at the guides, these are the bulleted points for
very
critical
specific.
repairs.
Very specific.
Identified advanced physical deterioration, any mold, water intrusion, or potentially damaging leaks to the project buildings, any project that's failed to pass any state, county, or other jurisdictional mandatory inspection, like the balcony inspection or the fire marshal inspection, and material deficiencies which, if left uncorrected, have the potential to result in or contribute to critical element failure. And then, of course, any unfunded projects that need to be completed within the next 12 months that are greater than $10,000 per unit. So we'll be sure to get a copy of this slideshow to Ed so he can give you guys a copy of it if you're looking for it. But these are what Fannie and Freddie refer to when they talk about critical repairs. And these are the critical repairs any lender is going to be reviewing for when there is a mechanical or structural inspection within the past 3 years. Any questions about the critical repairs or anything like that, guys?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So when you said that all the work that will have to be done in the next 12 months, would the HOA disclose that to you guys? Because sometimes when I ask them, are there any assessments that are coming up? They say that they can predict the future, you know, how they can be really rude. So how do you get that information from them?
Well, we simply ask on our questionnaire. And if they're not willing to answer, we let Ed know, and he gets with the seller's agent, and sometimes the seller gets involved and tells the HOA they need to answer, and a lot of the times that helps us get the answers we need. But ultimately, if let me go back. If
So
we can get answers to these questions on our questionnaire, then we need some sort of inspection that'll allow us to answer yes or no to whether or not there are any of these listed deficiencies, right, Joey?
So I was kind of alluding towards a few slides ago. The questionnaire is a tool, and there's a lot of different data sources that we can acquire some of those answers from. We can get the answers from an officer of the HOA board. We can get those answers from their assigned property managing entity. We can gather those data points from the seller's resale disclosure package. We can gather some of those data points from the appraisal. We can gather some of those data points from the county records and permitting, to see if there's any open permits for a major work, because obviously you have to get permission from the county to do major electrical work. You have to get permission from the county to replace your roofs. So if there's no open permits, we can confidently say there's no failed inspections, obviously, because there's no open permits. So I mean, like, we're going to explore every single opportunity and avenue to gather these data points. But if we exhaust everything that we have access to, even after we, tag the enlistment help of the agents involved, if we can't certify the project isn't in need of critical repairs, Fannie and Freddie call it proving a negative. We have to, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, right? That's where we're at with the new Fannie and Freddie guidelines. But like I said, these guidelines haven't spread over to Fannie, FHA and VA. So we just flip the script and say, hey, let's try to get the project FHA or VA approved.
Yeah.
You're breaking up one more time.
Does that make sense, Gaga?
Yes, I said exactly that. I said makes sense, and thank you.
Cool.
All right, so we'll kind of touch base on the review types for conventional and jumbo financing. You've got full review, which is a lender level approval that's good for 12 months with established projects and 6 months for new projects. It's called full review, meaning the entire project meets all of their requirements, so minimum down financing can be utilized. Our full review approval is exclusive to Movement. No other lender can utilize our approval. And like Ed was talking about, and we've mentioned a couple of times, we don't have any overlays. So just because we have it certified doesn't mean another local lender or bank is going to be able to certify it. Joey, let's hit them with the limited review stuff.
So the biggest difference between limited review and full review is what we review. So we're looking at the 10% reserve allocation requirement listed on the budget. We're not looking at the fidelity or general liability insurances coverages. We're not reviewing for the regular dues delinquencies. We're still reviewing for the special assessment dues delinquencies on a limited review, but the regular dues delinquencies aren't concerned. And if your borrower is doing an investment transaction, whether it's a refi or a purchase, the whole rule about that 50% rental, is not an issue for limited review. So even if the project is 100% investor owned, by different investors, not the same investor. That's a different guideline altogether. One person can't own 100% of the units, but 100% of the units can be non-owner occupied, and we can still close in there, no problem whatsoever. How does the borrower qualify for limited review, Ian?
So it's all about down payment, guys. Primary occupancy, 10% down. Second home and investment, 25% down. And then we no longer have to review those items that Joey just mentioned. So if they have the money, enough money to go limited, then those issues are still are no longer required to be reviewed. But like we mentioned, we still have to review for ineligible characteristics on a limited review. So things like critical repairs, single entities, major litigation,
Commercial
excessive
space.
commercial space, all of that still has to be reviewed, whether it's full or limited.
Mandatory memberships is another big one, another big one popping up right now. Leasehold estates that aren't within the allowances.
Yeah.
Direct leases. Yeah.
So any questions about the updates about conventional jumbo condo financing, guys? We're going to move on to FHA and VA after this. All right.
All right. So if your project is not already FHA or VA approved, no problem. FHA and VA don't charge for that. We can package up a submission to FHA, package a submission to VA, send it up to them. It's free. The HOA doesn't pay for that submission. The lender doesn't pay for the submission. No, FHA and VA do not charge for project review. They do not charge for project approval. They do not charge for project recertification. That is a very common misconception that it costs a whole lot of money to keep an FHA or VA project approval. It's not. It's FHA and VA project approvals are free. And HUD approval is good for 3 years at a time. And VA project approval is good for life. You have to do something pretty messed up to get your VA project approval withdrawn. Like sue your developer.
And do we have a list of those documents that we can provide our agent partners?
I can. Yes. It's anywhere between 17 and 22 documents long, and it's right there on the side of the screen there. We condense it. We do use our questionnaire for a lot of the data points for a VA submission, a lot of the data points for an FHA submission. The property manager and the HOA don't actually fill out a VA style questionnaire or an FHA style questionnaire. What we do is we get our conventional questionnaire filled out and we use that to fill out. The lender fills out the submission application to FHA or VA. So it's our questionnaire plus the governing documents, financials, insurance, meeting minutes for VA, management contract if they have a professional property manager, things like that. It's a pretty extensive package, and we do have to have the entire package before we can submit to FHA or VA.
But we can pass that along pretty easily.
Yes. The FHA also has what is what replaced spot approval from a decade and a half ago. Single unit approval with FHA gives the lender a express lane. But there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? The guidelines for single unit approval are super more restrictive than regular submission to HUD, which is HREP. The guidelines at every data point are more restrictive.
So it's
Instead of
something that you
allowing,
guys will be able to review though, and pretty easily
yes,
give us a green light and be like, hey, why don't you just do a single unit and you're good to go.
yes. Well, now, and that's the other thing is, we are very selfish with our approvals. We don't like to share our approvals. So we actually try to do the single unit approval on every single FHA loan file we come across every single time. It's a whole lot faster. Okay. And we don't have to share our approvals. And that's just me being selfish. And I'm okay with that. I've come to peace with that. It's fine. But in the rare occasion where a project doesn't meet those more restrictive single unit approval guidelines and requirements, then we do submit everything up to FHA. Hey, FHA, here's everything. And then we hear back within 30 days of submission. As long as it's a complete package, we hear back within 30 days of submission, and FHA is like, yay or nay.
Cool.
Yeah. Same thing with the VA. It's, we don't have an express lane for lender level, approvals. However, we do have it worked out with the VA that even if they reject it, 19 times out of 20, the reason for rejection is an actual VA guideline. Things like restrictions on free transferability of title, leasing provisions that require board approval, leasing provisions that say you have to live there for a year before you can lease it out. That's the most common one. Things like right of first refusal, whether they're enforcing it or not enforcing it if it's written in. So there's a lot of weird little things that the VA cares about in their actual CC&Rs and their declaration, their governing docs. They're what governs them, the HOA. And if it doesn't fit perfectly into the VA guidelines, they say, hey, I can't approve this whole project. However, have the veteran call me. I'll talk to them about it. And then I'll call you back after I talk to the veteran. The VA calls us back and says, hey, Joey, we're going to leave it rejected in the system, but you can go ahead and do this one loan this one time for this one veteran. So even if the VA rejects the project, we still have the opportunity, if that veteran still wants to live in that project, even knowing the reason why VA rejected it, we can still proceed. We have an avenue.
I think we were able to do that with one of Matt's clients too recently, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, no, that's awesome.
So that's
did you guys all understand that? I know there was a lot of Joey's throwing a lot of technical stuff at you.
Sorry, again.
It's all good. It's all good. I just want to make sure everyone's gets it, right? So if right, the VA just rejects, and they don't have all the documents that they need or whatever, they don't like everything, they may still allow us to do the financing for that one unit. But we would never know that if we didn't reach out and ask, right? So if your veteran loves a particular condo complex that they want to get the financing done and it's not VA approved,
not a problem.
Still let us know because we might be able to pound it through. Matt, sorry, I keep seeing you.
Oh no, I jumped in there. We didn't have one rejected. However, it was taking a little longer than our contingencies were stating. So to get the complex approval, we had the veteran call the folks over in Yuma and speed this thing along. And they got a hold of our file. They moved it up to the top of the list. They approved the complex the minute the veteran got a hold of them at the VA, and we moved on with the process like it never happened.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, you guys. Thank you so much. All right.
And again, FHAVA is free, guys. Don't let anybody tell you that FHAVA costs thousands of dollars. It doesn't. The cost is what we incur gathering the data, the getting the questionnaire filled out, purchasing the governing documents from the property manager, purchasing the last year's financials and this year's I mean that's the cost. And if you're using us for condo pre-submit, we'll take care of that cost up front for you, no problem. And if we can't get it approved for the loan program that they want to use, no problem at all. Let's pick another project.
Cool. Any questions, you guys? No? All right. Awesome.
All right, so we're going to kind of dive into the condo department. We wanted to give you a little bit of the why behind the what, and then we're going to dive into the specifics with our condo department so you guys understand why we created it the way we created it. So we've got a dedicated team that does nothing but review condominiums. A lot of places jumble the condo review with collateral or credit underwriting, and they don't see condos every day. So they're not as on their toes, for the lack of a better phrase, when it comes to condominium financing requirements, which way we could pivot if we need to pivot because it doesn't work one way, but it could work another, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got a dedicated condo team. We gather the docs, we review the docs, so Ed and his team can focus on getting more loans to come in and build more relationships. He's not focused on doing that aspect, so you don't have to worry about him being bogged down with the condo review aspect of the loan, because a lot of other lenders and banks require Ed and his team to gather that documentation. And, with him not being on the operations side, he's not able to gather the docs and review them as quickly if the operations team is handling it. So there's a major benefit to streamlining the process with having a dedicated condominium team. Additionally, our process and our review is upfront. What does that mean exactly? Well, as soon as Ed gets it submitted, whether it's condo pre-submit or he emails us over docs before you guys list, we're reviewing it, right? So let's apply it to a live loan process. He gets a loan, it's submitted. We assign the condo team, we get docs ordered within 24 hours. We order docs on the quickest rush option available, and the docs are then reviewed within 24 hours of receipt of those docs. So you're
And
looking at
let's talk about the receipt for a second. I'm sorry to
huh?
interrupt you, but
No, no,
have you
you're good.
not noticed like this stuff is slowing down like crazy? Like all of a sudden, like we used to be so quick, unless it's like HomeWise or something like that, where you can go online and click a couple buttons. But I feel like condo docs, after these new rules have gone into play, so many people are getting scared. It's taken a week, 2 weeks sometimes to get these condo docs back. And that was like having to do that in the middle of escrow, like that sucks. That's hard. So as
Right.
soon as we know that you guys are writing an offer or on a condo, get in touch. Like tell us, hey, here's the address. Let's get those docs ordered. Because we'll do it before you guys even submit the offer. We'll just order the condo docs, right? To get ahead of the game. That's how we can do like 2-3 week closes on condos when all these other banks are waiting until this project, like until someone gets approved before they bother investing money into this thing and ordering their condo docs, and it delays the financing. So it's so beneficial, you guys.
Right.
So listen to Ian, he knows what he's talking.
We try, right? So I mean, with condo pre-submit, that's exactly how you can get ahead of the game, like Ed was talking. Utilize condo pre-submit, and we'll be able to get docs ordered proactively on the quickest rush option available, so that we're hearing sooner rather than later on the eligibility of the condo review. So I mean, on top of handling everything streamlined, our process being upfront, having a dedicated condo team, no overlays. We're also reviewing legal docs for new projects and projects engaged in active litigation. New projects are our happy space right now. All of these critical repairs and special assessments don't apply to new projects. And if they do, you got a whole other set of problems. But 9 times out of 10, they don't apply to these new projects. And that's where we like to go, man. That's our space. And with inventory lacking, it's a great way to build relationships with Ed and a developer, because you're able to utilize those relationships to continue to build more projects, market those projects from a broker standpoint. Ed pre-approves those clients looking to go under contract, while Joey and I, through the condo team, work side by side with the developer to ensure condo financing eligibility. Mutualism at its finest, working with developers. We love working with developers. So I just kind of brushed over that. But Joe, you want to hit them with some common misconceptions, man?
Litigation. All litigation isn't major. Fannie and Freddie both have 2 entire pages dedicated to their selling guides on, clearly defining what types of litigation they're okay with and what types of litigation they're not okay with. And it really boils down to 2 things. Safety, structural, habitability, functional use, the actual deferred maintenance, critical repair stuff. Okay.
That's 4.
And then that's one. That's one. And then the other one is HOA suing their developer for construction defects. If the repairs aren't done there and it's not paid for, then there's really nothing Fannie and Freddie that's it. So if there's personal injury, wrongful death because of a garage collapsing on somebody or the pool sinking and falling through the roof, or the HOA suing their developer because all of the bolts on the outside stairwell are rusted through. Those are issues, but everything else, slip and fall, not a problem. Personal injury where insurance is handling their claim, not a problem. Quiet enjoyments of neighborly disputes, yeah, not a problem. There's still a handful of lenders out there that rubber stamp deny anytime the questionnaire comes back and answers yes to litigation. Whereas we've developed a very streamlined a way to determine whether or not that litigation is minor or major according to Fannie and Freddie's definition of minor and major litigation. Another big one is the percentage of rental units in a project. Fannie and Freddie only care when you're doing an investment transaction about the investor concentration. That's it. So if you're doing an owner occupied second home purchase or refi, It can be 100% and you can do the 3% down, no problem. If you're doing an investment transaction, go limited. It's not a problem. That's how you get past that. And you can pivot full review, limited review, Fannie, Freddie. Uh, it, it there's really nothing that we can't, use to circumnavigate the condo requirements when it comes to the investor concentration. But those are just two. Those are two of my most favorite, lender overlays.
Yeah. I mean, they're the biggest, like, I mean, litigation, and I mean, you also have special assessments. A lot of lenders, because of these critical repair guidelines, don't even want to touch a project that has a special assessment when it involves work. But if we can document that the work that they're doing is routine and it's not due to critical repairs, then it is something we can entertain so long as the rest of the condo review checks out, of course. But like if we have an HOA that's just gathering money to replace their roof because it's going to need to be replaced 6 years from now, we're going to call that proactive. Of course, the roof hasn't been replaced yet because it doesn't need to be replaced 6 years until 6 years from now. But we have to document that that special assessment is being paid and no more than 15% of the owners are delinquent, and then we're fine. A lot of lenders don't want to touch special assessment condominiums anymore now. So we're going to kind of move on, and then what we're going to talk about is rescues. Like Joey and I rescue a lot of condominium deals. We hear a lot of scenarios involving litigation, special assessments, insurance, the rental ratio of a project. The best thing you can do as agents, if you have a lender telling you they cannot approve the condominium, get the questionnaire, the budget, and the insurance from that lender, send it to Ed and Matt, and they're gonna escalate it to us, and we're gonna review. It's a flip of a coin whether or not we have an opportunity to rescue a deal. We rescue about 50 to 60% of the scenarios that come through. So it doesn't hurt to get us that documentation, just like the appraisal that buyer paid for it. So they have every right to obtain a copy of those condo documents the lender used and charged them for to review the condominium. So if you're the buyer's agent, you can request that on behalf of the buyer. If you're the seller's agent, you know what to ask the buyer's agent for, so you can turn around and see if movement has an outlet for that buyer to save your seller's deal. Joey, let's hit we kind of talked about working with developers. I'm not sure if you wanted to kind of dive into that a little more, but man, we love working with them.
We do love working with developers, and actually, I have a developer call today at 3. Doing purse packages and for one of my guys down in Florida. So we do a lot with developers, and what's really cool is we have another office out in Texas that he's got guaranteed deals lined up until what, 2028 now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we just get on a call with them. Hey, you got the draft governing docs? All right, cool. If you want FHA VA, keep this. If you want Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, change this. And they're like, all right, cool. I'll let you know when the insurance and budget are ready. And then,
We got a lot of ADUs going up in San Diego.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if we have, say, developers out there that are building 12-unit projects, 24-unit projects,
Yes.
and they're all ADUs, does that fit into this category?
Sort of. If you condoize them, okay, so what we're
I
seeing.
love that Bushism right there. That was
Yes.
totally
Yes.
amazing.
Terrorizers.
Condo
A lot of water out there. People are wet. If they're condoizing these multifamilies and then adding an ADU on the back and making it a three-unit condo, a 4-unit condo, they're going to fall into that waived project review element for Fannie and Freddie, but they're still going to require project review for FHA and VA. That's where it gets tricky. 2 to 4s are completely waived for Fannie and Freddie, even the critical repair stuff. Okay.
I'm talking 12, 24, like bigger
Okay.
projects.
So the bigger projects, if they're going to record them as condos, anything more than 4 attached units is going to require project review for Fannie and Freddie and FHA and VA.
They're ADUs.
Okay.
Right.
If they're all detached,
Attached.
not dadus, ADUs.
ADUs, yeah, no, they're, I mean, I'm asking because I know a developer that's building out like a 12 unit and they're all attached, or there'll be like
So-
3 different buildings with 4 different units in them.
Town, yeah. If they're recorded and zoned as condos, they're going to require a condo review.
Right. Like what I don't like is I'm seeing a lot of these developers taking these SFR lots and converting them to condominiums. They're calling them ADUs and detached additional dwelling units, and they're really not. I always tell them to throw that term out the window. You're either building a condominium or a PUD or single family residence property. So which is it? Now, whether or not those individual units within them have ADUs, that's a different story. And what I can tell you from what we're seeing, if there's a condominium unit that has an ADU within that condominium unit, that's going to be an issue, not only for condo review, but for comp review for collateral.
Gotcha.
So I would get that clarification with that developer and make sure if they're not truly ADUs, he's not using that term anymore, because it's going to kill any sort of marketability as soon as he tells a lender, hey, I'm building condominiums with ADUs, they're going to say no.
Gotcha. Cool, thanks.
Let's see here. So we review projects like Joey has talked about for conventional FHA, VA, jumbo, USDA, and we have non-warrantable condo financing. The non-warrantable condo financing is in-house, delegated, fixed rate stuff for condo tells, excessive commercial space, excessive single entities, mandatory memberships, excessive insurance deductibles is a big one that we're seeing right now, and more. And I think the next slide kind of even goes into that. So when something does not fit into the Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA realm for eligibility requirements, it is deemed non-warrantable. So Movement has these delegated fixed rate options in-house. So we're able to offer our level of customer service. It's not a brokered out product, and it's not something that is going to take 45 to 60 plus days to hear anything from the investor on. We gather the docs, we review the docs, and then we let you know whether or not it meets that non-warrantable condo financing, or if we have an avenue for it or not. It's really straightforward and it's really easy, and that's why we really enjoy utilizing our non-warrantable condo financing when it is truly non-warrantable. And that's it, guys. If anybody has any questions for conventional jumbo, FHA, BA, non-warrantable, we're here for you.
You guys did awesome. As always, love the banter. Love harassing you guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Does
I'll stop
anybody
sharing.
have any questions, y'all?
I don't have a question. I just have to say thank you. That feels good to know that, you guys have that kind of service. It's not that we didn't know about it, but it's different now when you meet these people and you hear them out and everything.
It's like the real what?
There are these little people in the back that are
Condo
doing all
department, I
these
swear.
fun stuff.
Yeah, all these hundreds and hundreds of loans that we give these folks to do that never get closed, but every time they answer the call. So that's just part of it, man. So we much appreciate all the hard work our condo department does for
Always.
us. And
Full
always does for us.
disclosure.
They're
Full disclosure.
they're doing it right now for us. So much
Full disclosure.
appreciated.
I don't say yes every time. Okay. And Ian doesn't say yes every time. Okay. There are things that we can't approve for one avenue or another, but we're going to try to find an outlet that it can go. Okay. We're not going to say yes to every single one. We're going to say yes to a lot of them because a lot of them are fine. Most HOAs are fine for something.
Yep.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
He took the words out of my mouth, dude. I was gonna say that, but
They're out there.
They're out there. Ian's smiling because he knows he said that.
It definitely sounds like something Ian would say.
Yeah, it's a true statement. But yeah, I would rather find out in advance and sit through escrow, have to pay for inspections. Borrower's got to pay for appraisals and waste everybody's time going out to the property how many times, then just find out like in advance. It's just that's the name of the game, I guess. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. We're almost on the hour, so you guys have an awesome week this week, and thank you guys so much for coming out here and sharing your knowledge with us. Always
Thanks
learning
for
something
having
new
us.
from y'all.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank
joining us
you.
this morning. Thank you, Condo guys.
Thank you guys for being here.
Bye.
All
Later.
right, have a great week. Later, guys.
Thanks.